What makes American cars so special that most people love them? If someone asked me that question, I'd say it's because of the muscle cars. But which muscle cars? There are plenty out there, right? But in today's video, we're going to talk about the top 3 most loved muscle cars in history. Everyone's got their own preferences, but this top 3 list is based on what many enthusiasts think should be the top 3, and I agree with them too. I'm not talking about your average gym rat's biceps. I'm talking about the kind of muscle that roars to life with a turn of the key and leaves nothing but smoke and rubber in its wake. We've seen countless muscle cars thunder down the quarter mile over the decades, but only a select few have earned the right to be called legends. At number 3, we've got a Mopar masterpiece that looks mean enough to scare small children. At number 2, a Ford that took the term boss to a whole new level. And sitting pretty at number 1, a Chevy that proves sometimes the bow tie crowd knows how to throw one hell of a party. These aren't just cars, enthusiasts. They're the four-wheeled titans that made the ground shake and gave foreign supercars a run for their money right here on American soil. So grab a cold one, crank up the volume, and let's dive into the nitrous-fueled frenzy of the top 3 muscle cars in history. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. Now, when you think of muscle cars, this car is probably one of the first that comes to mind, and for good reason. This beast wasn't just a car, it was a statement on wheels. Yes, you're looking at none other than the legendary 1970 Dodge Charger RT. Let's start with the looks. The '70 Charger RT was like the bad boy in a leather jacket that your parents warned you about. It had this menacing front grille that looked like it wanted to eat lesser cars for breakfast. The hidden headlights gave it this sleek, almost predatory appearance. And that body? Pure muscle car perfection. Long hood, short deck, and curves in all the right places. But let's be real here. The Charger RT wasn't just about looking pretty. Under that massive hood lurked a beast waiting to be unleashed. We're talking about the legendary 440 Magnum V8. This power plant was pushing out 375 horses right out of the gate. But for those who wanted more, because in the muscle car world, there's always room for more, Dodge offered the 440 six-pack, 3 two-barrel carbs sitting on top of that big block, good for 390 horsepower. And if that wasn't enough to satisfy your need for speed, you could opt for the holy grail, the 426 Hemi. This monster was rated at 425 horsepower, but everyone knew that was a conservative estimate. In reality, this thing was pushing closer to 500 horses. It could rocket you from 0 to 60 in the mid 5-second range. In 1970, that's fast even by today's standards. The Charger RT wasn't just about straight-line speed, though. It had a suspension setup that could actually handle all that power. Torsion bars up front, leaf springs in the rear, and a beefy sway bar to keep things planted. It wasn't exactly a nimble sports car, but for a muscle car, it could hold its own in the twisties. Inside, it was pure muscle car heaven. A cockpit-style dash wrapped around the driver, with those classic round gauges staring back at you. The high-back bucket seats weren't just comfortable, they were necessary. When you're pushing a car this powerful, you need something to hold you in place. Despite all this performance, the Charger RT was actually pretty practical. That fastback design wasn't just for looks. It gave you a decent amount of cargo space. You could actually use this thing as a daily driver if you wanted to. Well, if you could afford the gas, that is. The '70 Charger RT wasn't just a car. It was the embodiment of the muscle car era. It was loud, brash, powerful, and unapologetically American. It's no wonder this thing became a pop culture icon, starring in everything from the Dukes of Hazzard to the Fast and the Furious. So, whether you're a die-hard Mopar fan or just someone who appreciates automotive greatness, you've got to tip your hat to the 1970 Dodge Charger RT. It's a legend for a reason, folks. All right, let's shift gears and talk about a car that's so legendary, the 1969 Mustang Boss 429. This wasn't just a muscle car. This was Ford's way of giving the middle finger to physics and common sense. First off, let's address the elephant in the room. Or should I say, the elephant under the hood. The Boss 429 got its name from the absolutely monstrous 429 cubic inch V8 that Ford somehow managed to cram into the Mustang's engine bay. And when I say cram, I mean it. They had to modify the shock towers, move the battery to the trunk, and probably sacrifice a few virgins to the car gods to make it fit. This engine was a work of art. It had aluminum heads with huge ports, a forged steel crank, and 4-bolt main bearings. On paper, it was rated at 375 horsepower, but that number was about as believable as a politician's campaign promises. In reality, this thing was pushing well over 500 horses. It was so powerful that Ford actually had to detune it for street use. The Boss 429 wasn't just about raw power, though. It was a marvel of engineering. It had an engine oil cooler, a trunk-mounted battery, and a competition suspension with staggered rear shocks. This wasn't just a straight-line dragster. It was built to handle. Visually, the Boss 429 was surprisingly subdued for a muscle car of its era. No wild stripes or gaudy colors here, just a functional hood scoop, a front spoiler, and some subtle badging. It was like a hitman in a well-tailored suit, deadly but classy. Inside, it was all business. High-back bucket seats, a Hurst shifter for the 4-speed manual, and a simple no-nonsense dash. This car wasn't about creature comforts. It was about driving, and boy, did it deliver on that front. Here's the kicker. The Boss 429 was actually a homologation special. Ford built it so they could use that massive engine in NASCAR. They only made 859 of these beasts in 1969, making it one of the rarest and most sought-after muscle cars ever produced. Driving a Boss 429 was an experience like no other. The sound of that big block firing up was enough to wake the dead, and when you put your foot down, it was like being strapped to a rocket. This thing could hit 60 miles per hour in around 5.5 seconds. In 1969, that's faster than a lot of modern sports cars. But the Boss 429 wasn't without its quirks. That massive engine made it nose-heavy, which could make handling a bit tricky. And let's not even talk about the fuel economy. This thing drank gas like a frat boy at an open bar. Despite its flaws, or maybe because of them, the Boss 429 has become one of the most legendary muscle cars ever made. It's a testament to a time when American automakers were willing to push the boundaries of what was possible, practicality be damned. The 1969 Mustang Boss 429 wasn't just a car. It was a middle finger to common sense, a love letter to excess, and a testament to American engineering prowess. It's the kind of car that makes grown men weep and wallets empty. And that, folks, is why it'll always be remembered as one of the greatest muscle cars ever made. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've arrived at the pièce de résistance, the king of the muscle car world, the 1970 Chevelle SS. If there was ever a car that perfectly encapsulated the muscle car era, this is it. Let's start with the looks, because hot damn, this car was a looker. The 70 Chevelle SS had the kind of styling that made you stop and stare. It was muscular without being bulky, aggressive without being gaudy. That twin headlight grille gave it a menacing face, while the fastback roofline kept things sleek. And those bulging fenders, they weren't just for show. They hinted at the raw power lurking beneath. But let's be honest, the real star of the show was under the hood. The 1970 Chevelle SS came with a range of engine options, but the one everyone lusted after was the LS6 454 cubic inch big block V8. This monster was rated at 450 horsepower and a tire-shredding 500 pound-feet of torque. Let that sink in for a moment. 450 horsepower in 1970 from a production car. It was, at the time, the most powerful engine ever offered in a production car. The LS6 was a marvel of engineering. It had a forged steel crank, forged aluminum pistons, a solid lifter cam, and an 11.25:1 compression ratio. It breathed through a massive Holley 780 CFM carburetor. This wasn't just an engine. It was a declaration of war on the laws of physics. Paired with this powerhouse was either a Muncie M22 rock crusher 4-speed manual or a beefed-up 3-speed turbo hydromatic 400 automatic. Both were up to the task of handling the LS6's massive output. But let's be real. If you weren't rowing your own gears in a car like this, you were doing it wrong. The Chevelle SS wasn't just about straight-line speed, though. It had a F41 special performance suspension that included heavy-duty springs, shocks, and a rear stabilizer bar. This setup gave the Chevelle surprisingly good handling for a car of its size and power. Inside, the Chevelle SS was pure muscle car heaven. High-back bucket seats, a center console with a horseshoe shifter, and a dash full of round gauges. It was simple, functional, and focused on the business of driving. No frills, no fuss. Just you, the car, and the road. Now let's talk about performance. This thing was an absolute monster. 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds flat. The quarter mile? How about mid-13 seconds? At over 105 miles per hour. Remember, this is 1970 we're talking about. These numbers would be impressive today, let alone half a century ago. But here's the thing about the Chevelle SS. It wasn't just about the numbers. It was about the experience. The way the big block rumbled at idle, threatening to shake the car apart. The way it roared when you put your foot down, like some primordial beast awakening. The way it pushed you back in your seat when you launched it, making you question whether you were driving a car or piloting a rocket. The 1970 Chevelle SS wasn't just a car. It was the ultimate expression of the muscle car ethos. It was powerful, it was beautiful, and it was unapologetically excessive. It represented a high watermark for the muscle car era, a time when performance was king and fuel economy was a foreign concept. Today, the 1970 Chevelle SS, especially in LS6 form, is one of the most sought-after muscle cars on the planet. Pristine examples can fetch seven-figure sums at auction, but to reduce it to mere dollars and cents is to miss the point. This car is more than just a vehicle. It's a piece of automotive history, a rolling testament to an era when American car manufacturers were engaged in an all-out horsepower war. The 1970 Chevelle SS is, quite simply, the king of muscle cars. It's the benchmark against which all others are measured, and even half a century later, it still has the power to make car enthusiasts weak at the knees. Long live the king, folks. Long live the king. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're new here, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Catch you in the next documentary. Until then, stay awesome and goodbye.